It happened. I got Kevin to finally watch Barbie.
Yeah, and happy to report we're still friends.
Yes. In fact, I'd like to think better friends than ever. So we're going to be diving deep on this episode of the Finding Good podcast, the first episode of season 3.
Wow, they let us do it again.
Yep. It's Kevin and Milton. So welcome back to the Finding Good podcast. Woo, it's been a while.
It has been a while.
Yeah.
You were doing some extra curricular things.
Yeah.
Here at the station, we're with Project 88.7. So you got to do some morning show stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of a blur. I don't even remember what I was
so
doing.
busy.
But it happens. But we're back.
We are.
That's what's most important.
A new set.
New set, new look, new everything, new Kevin even. So you're going to find out pretty soon.
It's a true story.
So, but before we get into the subject matter of today, we want to remind you to like, subscribe, share, so that other people who are into, diving a little bit deeper, having a little bit of fun, talking about the movies that are, kind of on the horizon. And we got one today that we were holding back on for a while, this phenomenon, Barbie.
Yeah.
Which is a weird to think that this became a movie.
I mean, I avoided this movie as long as I possibly could.
Why was that, Kevin?
Because it's Barbie. I mean, it's like, there. That's why. That's all the reason I need.
I mean, it had great acting. It had an interesting storyline. It had things to say about life and about relationships and about men and women and the world. And
just didn't get into the whole thing because everybody was dressing in pink and going to the movies.
You don't like pink?
I'm more of like a solid, neutral color guy. I have nothing against pink, but it just wasn't. It's not my vibe.
Okay, so you're a father. You have a daughter.
Yeah, I do.
Did your daughter ever get into the whole Barbie thing?
We tried. She moved more into American Girl.
Okay, yeah.
Which was horrible.
Why?
Because American Girl is like 100 times more expensive.
Oh, gotcha.
I mean, like, here's
This is
a
an economic
$5.
issue.
Yeah, here's a $5 plastic toy versus like I'm going into the American Girl store and they want like $300 for a little mini set and a dress and stuff. And so, yeah, we did the more American Girl route, but not Barbie.
Well, the reality is girls, in general, like to play with dolls.
You had 2 daughters.
Yeah, we did the American Girl thing
have
too.
2 daughters.
I hope so.
and they did like...
We did the American Girl too. But their Barbie experience was more along the lines of the films. There was a whole slew of animated Barbie films.
Right. Yeah.
Barbie does Rapunzel. Barbie does Fairytopia, I think. The Nutcracker.
I have no idea what any of that is.
Okay, well, anyway, it's Barbie playing the roles that we would see in other films and stories. And they loved that. In fact, when we moved, we unearthed some of those DVDs and we kind of rewatched them all.
Really?
And just loved
They were into it.
Yeah.
I did learn a lot about Barbie culture and history.
Yeah.
Like I had no idea about the Allen doll or the pregnant Barbie or the Barbie with a TV in her back.
Yeah.
I had no idea any of this existed. I did like how they incorporated the history of the toy into the ridiculousness of the movie.
Yeah. Ridiculousness, that's a little prejudicial, but we'll move on from that.
We'll get there.
It was a fun movie.
It was.
Whether, whatever you think about, some of the statements about society and everything, I did see you laughing a lot during the movie.
I mean, kind of like this.
Enjoy it.
There's in the corner, just kind of, I'm not going to make this a big deal, but I am enjoying this.
And you kind of succumbed, I feel bad for you, you succumbed to the pressure because you were being pushed by, especially the ladies here at Project, who were saying, Kevin, you got to see the movie. You got to see the movie. You got to see the movie. And finally, you said, fine. You relented and you sat down. We had popcorn. We had candy. We had soda, and we watched it
for this moment. Watched it for this podcast. So
okay,
here we go.
Well, let's just overall, just as a film itself.
Okay.
What would you give it as far as a rating? What did you think?
I mean, I thought it was a solid B+.
B plus? Okay.
Yeah, and the more I talk about it with people, the more I'm realizing there's some actual deep themes into this that I will actually enjoy having conversations around.
Yeah.
Because I think the fear was this is just going to be male bashing, and it's going to be like the feminist movement, and guys suck, and women can do it all, and I'm just like, I just don't. I can't.
Well, both of those things might be true, but let's figure that out as we talk about it.
I just wanted more of a balanced approach, and I did find that it was pretty balanced.
Well, and I told you, Kevin, I warned you. I said you're gonna hate like the first 3/4 of this movie, and you're gonna love the back quarter of it. And I think I was right.
You actually no, you were wrong.
I was wrong. Okay.
Because I did enjoy it a lot. I was preparing to just loathe this movie. I'd rather run out and just get hit by a car, like that kind of loathing. And I actually did enjoy it. So
yeah.
I would say that it was about half and half.
Yeah, and this is a total tangent from where we really want to take this conversation, but I think it's a good lesson for all of us to learn that, you know, we seem to be so divided as a society.
Yeah.
That automatically we come to everything with an agenda to it, and we want to label it a certain thing.
Sure.
So you know, people came in and says, "Oh, it's Barbie. It has to be anti-male, right?" And so we already go in, and okay, so there you fell into that trap. And I think it's just a great lesson. So I'm like, just go into it and make your own opinion. Like you don't have to believe everything that's on Twitter and on Instagram and on Facebook about everything. Like have your own experience and enjoy it for what it is.
And I watch way too much conservative news, and it's a, you know, talking about Kevin growing. Yeah, I need to grow out of that for sure. But I was shocked at how anti-Barbie that segment was. And so I do think it fed into that negativity that I had going into it. And I like your encouragement. Like, don't let people form your opinions for you. Right. Go and experience it, and then form your opinion. So, lesson learned there.
Okay, so the interesting part of this movie that hit me was this idea of being human. Okay, you know, let's give a little. I mean, this movie's been around for a while, so a lot of people already know about it. But just in case, if you haven't seen it, spoiler alert: Barbie at the end of this movie wants to become human, and she's granted that wish, I guess, if you would call it that. And this idea of what being a human is, right? And I feel so much as I look at society. I think one of the commentaries here is that many of us, in a weird way, which isn't possible, but we're still doing it, we're pulling away from what true humanity is. Because we are trying to avoid the challenging part of being human and only live in the space of the positive part of being human.
Wow, yeah.
Is that making sense to you?
No, absolutely. I think it's the full experience,
right,
of what it is, instead of your own experience, instead of your own individual world and bubble.
Yeah.
And of course, Barbie presented that in its purest form, male, female. You know, it's the sexes and the roles that those have played, both positive and negative. But I love what you're saying, is that a lot of us approach life in that scope. We're only looking at how we look at life through our own lens.
Yeah.
And the challenge is, how do we expand that so that we can experience life through other people's lenses as well?
Well, and even beyond that, even our own experience has to have, or it's unavoidable, it's going to have the good part of it, it's going to have the challenging part of it, it's going to have the, you know, I like the word mundane, but it basically means like the boring everyday part of it. And I think it was a great representation that Barbie, even herself, and Barbie Land and what that world was, it was really only accentuating, this is awesome. Like, everything's great. Like, you know, I have this beautiful Barbie dream house, and I have this beautiful Corvette or whatever the car was, and we're all on the beach playing volleyball, and the food is perfect every time, and everything's wonderful. And then she gets into the real world, and she experiences the other part of life, which is, oh, there's problems, and there's pain, and oh, I can't just walk into the store and take the clothes and put it on and walk away. I have, if I do that, I land in prison. And like, so there's this part of life, this experience that many of us try to avoid, but it's real, and it's part of being human. You can't be human and not have pain, suffering, challenges.
Right.
And that was the hard lesson for Barbie and for Ken too.
Yes. Ken was almost experiencing it in complete reverse, where he was experiencing a lot of disappointment and frustration in his world, and it's like, this isn't connecting for me for whatever reason. And then he got into the real world, and where everything opened up and allowed him to experience all this other stuff that he was really oppressed at. So it was almost like a complete role reversal, both living this full experience that you're talking about. Yeah.
So to me, that was the beauty of Barbie's journey, which is all of our journeys, and we can't shy away from it. Okay, so she had the perfect life, and then it got interrupted, because that's always going to happen.
The interruption.
The interruption of everything is going well, and you know, we all have that. I know I've experienced it through like job loss, right? You can experience it through a tragedy in a family. You can experience through a sickness or an illness. You know, you get that diagnosis, and all of a sudden now everything was great, and now we're on a path of total misery, total challenges, not even knowing if we're going to eat the next day, or if we're going to live, you know, in 3 months or whatever it might be, if our relationship's going to stay intact, and all these things. And we hate that, but the more we avoid it, the less we're experiencing of the true life that we are meant to be. And it's I know it sounds weird that I'm saying you're meant to experience sorrow or pain or challenges, but sorry, that's true. We were created to have the ability to experience those things and to bring them into our circles, and then, you know, push through them and get to the other side.
Yeah, but that's horrible.
Yeah, it is horrible.
It's not fun. And I do. The more I think about this movie, the more I do like it, because I think on the surface, it's very one-sided to me, one issue sided. But I think there's true depth into this. So we talk about this human experience, and then you and I had some great conversations about what can actually like detract us from having, what can interrupt. What are some things that interrupt our ability to live this whole human experience? Yeah. We came up with 3.
We did?
Yeah, we did. You and I. We sat down. We
actually came what the first one was.
Well, and we came up with actually 3 C's. You're a pastor.
3 C's.
Yeah, you're a pastor, so you really like these.
I do.
And I really like liking them with you. Because I listen to these and I go, wow, I can remember this. This is really good for me. Yeah. So 3 C's of words that can really distract us from living this human experience. Okay. First one was circumstance. Yeah. Which was big in this. You saw the circumstances of Barbie's reality, and then she moves to this real world where she can't control any of the circumstances, and then Ken's having the opposite experience. And it can be completely distracting as we try to embody this full human experience. And why is that? Why do we want to control our circumstances?
Well, because if we're in control, then we call the shots, and it's going to be what we want. And unfortunately, it never happens. Like, you think about her experience. She leaves Barbie land. She goes to the real world, expecting that because she thought that Barbie just was this great influence in the real world, and that all the women were going to see her and be like, oh, it's Barbie. Look at all the great things she did for society. Look how great it is. And then she runs into this teenager who tells us, whatever. Like, you're the problem. You're not the solution. You didn't fix anything. You made us objectify ourselves. You made us hate ourselves. And she just walks away, just tears in her eyes, floored. And those are the circumstances, because you never know how people are going to react. You never know what's going to happen. You can try and control it all you want, but you truly don't have control. And all it takes is a moment and somebody else's decision or somebody else's issue, and now you're tumbling down the mountain out of control with nothing. And if we allow the circumstances to get in the way of where we're going, then that stops us from the full experience. So people usually, they try to run away from the circumstances,
sure,
or hide from them.
Yeah.
But in that circumstance, we believe, especially those of us who are Christians, we believe that God is there, and that we can actually have an experience in that circumstance that we would never have anywhere else, and that would truly have value in helping us grow as a person.
Wow. Okay. I love that. And massively challenged because I run from uncomfortable circumstances all the time, and I'm learning to stay in it and help and try to absorb and learn from it.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that is just to stay in that uncomfortableness. Yeah, it's hard. It doesn't feel good.
No. Especially if you're a doer. Like
right.
both of us are. We like to just get in there, grindstone, eye on the prize kind of person. And most of the time, this is just sitting.
Right, yeah. Yep.
And just absorbing what's happening. And you're right, it's a learning process. Some people are really good at it.
Yeah.
I'm not, but it's important because, like I said before, I believe there are certain things I'm supposed to learn and take away from those circumstances and this awful thing that's happening right now to help me become a better person.
Okay, so focusing on circumstances, another thing that can get us detracted. Am I saying the right word? Distracted.
I think they both work.
They're both words.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Another thing that can help you do that from living the human experience is focusing on comparison.
Ooh.
This is where, and this can even be your circumstances. You can combine those two together, but usually in the case of Barbie, it's she has what I don't have, or now I don't have what everybody else has, and both characters, both Ken and Barbie, hit this a lot, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
Because usually the male experience, I'm going to talk about the comparison as much as the female experience, and it is true. I mean, like, do your abs look like that?
Am I supposed to answer that question?
No. No, they don't.
I think it's pretty obvious.
So, I mean, there's physical comparison. There's comparison of what you have, the material aspects of all of this. There's a lot that we can actually get caught up in, and it can get a mess really quick.
Yeah, and it's been accentuated with technology now, like the comparison. Sure. Not only, you used to just be able to compare yourself to like your friends,
right,
or the families that you were in your neighborhood or you went to church with or whatever. Now you can compare yourself with everyone around the world. Right?
That's true. Yeah.
And it's like everyone's life is better than mine.
Yep.
It just seems that way. And of course, because no one's going to put out there like, oh man, I'm really hurting today and I'm dealing with this rash, and I'm like, nobody's putting that kind of stuff out there.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
I did have, so my family went to Hawaii, which was really great.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. And everybody asked, of course, what are they going to ask? How was Hawaii? How was a vacation? And I said, well, do you want the Instagram version or do you want the real version?
Okay.
Which one do you want? And I mean, the reality is the Instagram version, it was great. It was sunny. We were on the beach. We had a lot of fun. We ate some good food. The real version is probably not something I'm going to share on a podcast, right, to everybody, but it's something that I would share with real friends who understand that life is not polished. Life is not sunny and beachy and delicious all the time. It's, we're fighting and we're moody, and Kevin did a 4-hour walk halfway through.
It got to that level, huh?
It was a little rough, but I think there's just a reality of being okay with that, because for my whole life I would have never offered the choice. I wouldn't even offer the choice that there is a real version of this vacation. It's always the Instagram version, and that's what I'm going to share. That's what I'm going to post. That's what I'm going to remember. And just sitting with the fact that, no, this wasn't polished. And what's cool is that I know I'm not alone in that.
Oh, no.
I know that every vacation is not polished and everybody's doing the exact same thing.
Listen, when this isn't a new phenomenon. Back in the days, I remember my parents. My dad used to film. He had one of those 8mm cameras, you know, the film strip camera.
Yeah.
And then after every vacation, he would go have it digitized or not digitized, but do the reel to reel.
Yeah.
And we'd bring friends over, and they'd show the film, like our trip to Disneyland or whatever. And my dad never filmed like me and my brother crying and melting down and smacking each other, right? That did happen, right? Or the time that my brother complained about the food we were eating or whatever. You know, you always show the best of what you have. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but we also can't get into the trap of looking at what somebody else is presenting us and saying, oh man, my life stinks. If I look at their life.
Which is really what social media has done. It's that magnifying glass on other people's best moments.
Yeah.
And it's the worst way to live, is comparing your reel with someone else's Instagram, right?
Yeah. Yeah, don't do that.
No.
It's a bad idea.
That's right. So you got circumstances, focusing on comparison. The last one we feel that really distract you from living this full human experience is control. We mentioned this. You don't like control.
No, I love control.
Oh, you love control.
I love control.
You don't like not focusing on control.
I'm supposed to not be in control, and it's actually the biggest challenge that I have in my relationship with God right now is the fight for control.
Okay.
And it just continues to show me that I'm still not 100% trusting in God in every part of my life. So when it comes to finances, when it comes to my children, when it comes to my relationship with my wife, my church, even what we do here, it's just like I'm always thinking about what do I have to do, what more do I have to do so that the results that need to be had will come to fruition. And it's just trying to just put all the pieces in place. And I think there's also a semblance of pride in there to be able to say like, oh, that was me. Like I was the one who came up with that idea, or I was the one who moved that piece over here, or made this decision that brought this great success over. I like to think that I'm valuable and that I'm contributing and it's turning into something good. So I think that's part of the control issue as well. This is another universal problem, I believe.
It is, but I've learned a lot about control in the past year.
Oh, okay.
Just how pervasive it is in almost every negative emotion. That really this idea of control, that's what's living underneath all these other things, like anger, selfishness. It's just, why am I doing this way? Why am I acting this way? Anytime I'm asking myself that question, why am I reacting to this situation? It's usually because I feel that I need a sense of control in this situation. Yeah. And it's shocking to me how often it comes back. It's like all paths lead to you're trying to hold on to something that is never meant for you. This idea of control.
Isn't it interesting in the movie how we saw this played out between the two groups, right? We have the Kens and the Barbies.
Yeah.
So in the Barbie land, Barbies are basically in control. They run the Senate, they have the president, they get all the awards, They
get all the fun sleepovers.
All the sleepovers, they have all the houses.
Right.
They go to the beach and the Kens are serving them drinks while they're playing volleyball. Then Ken and Barbie go to the real world. Ken learns about the patriarchy, right? They use that term very intentionally.
Yes.
And he comes back with all the ideas. Barbie gets stuck in the real world still. And by the time she's able to get back, Ken has completely turned Barbie land upside down. And now the Kens are in control. And it's
and they're riding so many horses.
lots of horses, lots and lots of horses.
The horses are everywhere.
Yeah, and so it's that's interesting, and this is still a societal conversation, right, about men versus women and who actually has control. And on one side you hear the arguments. The men are saying, well, women's rights, and they've gotten so much more than they ever had, and women are saying, well, it's not enough, and there should be more. So this control battle still happening even today.
Sure.
In the modern society that we have.
Yes, and I feel tense.
Why do you feel tense?
Because you're bringing up all these reasons why I didn't want to watch this movie in the first place. Just all this male female versus and to me it's why I love the movie, how it went a little deeper than just that, which is what I thought it was going to be about. But then at the same time, I just go back to no, I think that's what this movie was about.
What do you? Oh, so you think it is about bashing men?
Yes, kind of.
What?
I mean, a little bit.
Okay, hold on. We're gonna have fun.
Okay.
I think we've heard enough from you on this.
Wow.
Because honestly, we can't talk about Barbie without a female perspective. So we're going to make a switch here, and I think I have some powers here. So on the count of 3, we are going to change the conversation. Don't say anything. It's fine. You're going to be okay. Ready?
It's a little bit.
1, 2, 3. Hey.
Hi.
Hey, Liz, welcome to the Finding Good podcast. Everybody, this is Liz. Liz is part of the project crew. She helps with our database.
Yeah.
Making sure everything runs behind the scenes. And you are our what we call resident female expert representative.
Sure.
And we were kind of tired of hearing from Kevin about Barbie. You've seen the movie.
I have.
Okay. Before we get into anything deep, just tell me overall what'd you think of the movie, and if you gave it a rating on 5 stars, or no, I guess we do grades here.
Grades?
Yeah,
okay.
grades.
Well, I did see the movie a long time ago when it first came out. I wasn't actually excited to see it.
Okay.
But I mean, I would give it a solid A.
A, yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. A, I think it's a great movie. So we before Kevin had to be disappeared, we were kind of talking about this whole idea of men versus women. I think it's an obvious theme here in this film, and of course, 2 guys talking about men versus women. It's just not right. So, give us a perspective on that, where you kind of feel maybe this movie was taking it, and what is your experience with this idea of men versus women?
I actually identified a lot with the teenage girl in this movie.
Okay.
That character, very cynical of how the world is.
Yeah.
Just what is this? Very no hope for the future as a female kind of thing. You make us feel bad about ourselves kind of deal. We don't have good prospects for equal pay and jobs kind of thing. That's kind of where I was I see where she's coming from.
Yeah. And I kind of felt some of what she was saying, not so much of course the men versus women, but she was someone who just came off the solution isn't in men or women. The world is just a bad place. Yeah. And it's and everybody's struggling. I'm a teenage girl and I see that there's no future or no hope here. And I loved how at the end, her and her mom were able to get that relationship back together. Now, the theme of our episode today has been mostly just the whole human experience, trying, because that's ultimately what Barbie wanted. She wanted to become human, right? And she wanted the good part of human. She wanted the bad part of human. She talked about crying and how cathartic it was, and also just the regular part of human, going to the doctor, and I know that your story is pretty amazing. You've gone through the gamut of human emotions.
Yeah.
And I know that there have been some painful times. There have been some really awesome times.
Yeah.
How has that impacted you and formed you to be the person you are today?
Oh gosh. I was listening to you guys talk, and your 3 C's all hit home. Like circumstances, there were some circumstances in my life that I never saw coming, that I had to power through. Comparison, I struggled with that a lot, especially post-college, graduating. Just seeing how some of my friends got their dream jobs straight out of college, and I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I don't know what I want to do with my life. There's a lot of that struggle that goes on with those 3 C's that you're talking about. And I got that.
So help, I think the complete experience of life comes when we can live it all together. Like you're only living a limited version of life if you're living it on your own. So men, women, how do we do this together in a way that everyone is growing, everyone's learning, we're all seeking joy together? How can we do this from your perspective as a female? How do us men contribute to that positive environment that's created?
I think a lot of it is a matter of just being open-minded and listening, which you've probably heard like in a lot of different platforms of like, men just don't listen. But from the female viewpoint, a lot of the time it's like, we're not heard in a lot of circumstances. And I think if we are heard, it's through a different lens, I guess you can say. Instead of being open-minded and thinking of, oh, that's your viewpoint, I can understand how that would be. It's a lot of, but that's not how I see it. Like, I hear you, but I don't.
Got you.
I don't identify with that. And so I think if there's a little bit more open-mindedness, that would open the doors to a lot more conversations, a lot more mutual problem solving. I think that could help a lot.
It sounds like what you're saying, which I think I have observed this, is like, as a man, don't listen to a woman just so that you say you listened to her. Like really try to get down to understand what she's saying, what her experience is. And I the way I put that is like, be curious. Like don't just get the information, like dig deep and try to find out like what's actually going on. Like, and I know that it's been an education doing this with my daughters, who are, in their 20s, and it's like, wow, there's a lot going on there. There is a whole lot going on there. I think from the male perspective, if I were to give any advice to any females who are listening, any ladies, I'd say like just know we're so dumb, like, but just know that it comes, like, truly, it comes from a place of we really want to do the best, especially for the women in our lives. We want to do the best, and we want to. Even though I know these are stereotypical roles, but they're stereotypical for a reason. They live inside of us, which is we want to be providers, we want to be protectors. Not that every woman needs to be protected, every woman needs to be provided for, but that's an innate feeling that we have inside, and we want to demonstrate that in some ways. Now, a lot of times we do it badly. I get that. But help us understand the best way to do that, which honors you, right? As an example. The other day, it just clicked for me that one way that I have to be a protector for my wife is I have to evaluate, because I'm a pastor. I get a lot of requests and desire, and people's give, or I need this, I need that, and I have to, right?
I'm a pastor's kid.
A pastor's kid, and I have to learn what do I protect my wife from. A lot of times I would just say just ask her. Just ask her what she thinks about this. But I already know what the response is. And I learned that there are certain things that just will cause anxiety or or confusion. And I'm just like, you know what? Why don't I just stop it right there? Like right at the beginning. And so I'm learning, and that was a tough lesson to learn. And I talked it over with her and I said, would this help? And she was like, yes, that would help. Like, do that. And I think more conversations like that would help us be better at what we innately feel like we're called to do. So help.
No, and I understand the whole innate feelings thing. Like, I'm a highly independent person, but sometimes I still want to be protected. Like, that's just like the innate feeling of just being humans, and I think just how we've evolved over time. But no, that's a valid viewpoint to come from.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. That's our conversation with Liz here on Barbie. She gives it an A. I give it an A. Kevin gave it a, I don't know, B, I think.
Oh, but does Kevin's opinion really count?
I mean, it does. Somewhat. But anyway, glad you could join us for today's episode. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share with somebody who has watched Barbie, and share with us your opinions down in the comments. So, Liz, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
This is the Finding Good podcast, with Liz and Milton, and maybe Kevin will be back.